Oh, okay, go.
Welcome to Crash Course World History, everyone. We're going to we're going to give you guys a brief recap of World War II and everything else that happened during that time. So let's get into it.
So we'll start. After World War I, complications began in Germany after the economy plummeted. Money was worth almost nothing. In about 1934, Hitler began to take power and quickly enforce his ideas on Germany. And it would have been long before he began one of the most devastating and greatest tragedies to take place in the 20th century.
Right before the invasion of Poland in September of 1939, Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union signed a non-aggression pact known as the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact to establish peace and cooperation between each other. The Nazi invasion of Poland forced France and Britain to declare war on Germany. A couple days later, the Soviet Union decided to invade Poland as well. Unable to stop the fight against the two superpowers, Poland was once again divided and Europe found itself amidst another world war.
On the other side of the world, Asia wasn't doing so hot either. Beginning in 1937, the Japanese began invading in what's known as the Second Sino-Japanese War. Japan was expanding continuously, and on September of 1940, they signed the Tripartite Pact with Germany and Italy. This pact created the alliance of world war known as the Axis powers. By this time, the war was officially affecting the entire world and became an actual world war.
Look, alright, so fighting against the Axis was the Allies, which consisted of Great Britain, France, and USA, Canada, and basically the rest of the Western world, including Australia. At the beginning, these guys were not doing so good. France had lost to the Nazis in 1940. The Nazis continued expanding their power in Europe until 1941, when their invasion into the Soviet Union, known as the Battle of Stalingrad, caused the Soviets to join the Allied powers, and the tables quickly turned against Germany.
With the D-Day invasion, Operation Thunderclap, and Nazi ghetto uprising, the Allies were able to create a path of success and began the way to end of the war. But things weren't going to end so quickly in Asia. After the Pearl Harbor bombing Japan in the U.S. In 1941, a brutal rivalry began between the two countries. Seeking to get revenge, America sent their troops to Japan. The two sides fought a long, devastating battle. Suffering mostly defeats for 4 years, things finally started looking up in 1945, when America won the Battle of Iwo Jima and the Battle of Okinawa.
Look, and then with the dictators Mussolini and Hitler both dead, by 1945, the Allied powers decided it was time to end the fighting. They sent the Potsdam Declaration to Japan in July, ordering them to surrender or suffer the consequences. And they said they wouldn't succumb to their orders, so Japan denied the ultimatum and will regret it very soon. After years of preparing nuclear bombs, America put them to use on two major cities in Japan in August of 1946. The nuclear bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki was the last major event of World War II. Finally surrendering on September 2nd, Japan lost the war along with the other Axis powers. The Allies were the ultimate successes, and with the goal to prevent such a war from ever happening again, the United Nations was created.
And now it's time for our open letter. But first, let's see what's on our secret screen. Oh, it's an Egyptian pyramid. Did you know the Egyptian pyramids date back to 2500 BC? Anyways, onto our letter. Dear Egypt, you a snake. Helping the British, then talking behind their back to Germany to set up their defeat? You should be ashamed of yourself. But luckily, the British ended up defeating you and ending your devious plans with Germany. Best wishes, Ashanti.
A lot happened during the short time period of World War II. Not only did a lot happen during the war, so much happened before and after it. Italian fascism, Japan's invasion into China, Hitler's Nazi regime, and along with the Great Depression helped to start the war. During the time of the war, many countries found themselves in an economic crisis, mainly due to the Great Depression that America was suffering, along with the negative impacts that World War I left on them. During the war, many new technological innovations also came about, mostly military. Radio navigation, programmable computers, aircrafts, and atomic bombs changed the course of the war along with the course of the world, both positively and negatively. The two atomic bombs, Little Boy and Fat Man, that landed in Japan were the first and only atomic bombings to ever be issued, and they were the final event to end World War II. One of the greatest sufferings of the war was the Holocaust, the mass murder of millions of innocent Jews and other non-German, non-Christian people that Nazis found unnecessary to keep living. It is the greatest genocide to ever take place and left the world horrified. After the war, many countries began fighting for their nationalism after being colonies for the majority of the 20th century and before. The fight for nationalism was present in Asia, Africa, Europe, and the Americas, and changed the national borders of the world into what they are now. One of the most important things that occurred after the war was the creation of the United Nations. In order to create peace among the world's countries and prevent any other possible war, 51 member states joined together in a non-governmental organization and developed agreements on various world topics. Altogether, the Second World War completely changed the course of history with both positive and negative effects. It turned the world into what it is today and laid the path for future historical events.
Thank you.